Gee, Steve, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every podcast. Tell him how we sees it.
You want to say something to the group, Mr. McMurphy?
Well, yeah. I'd like to know why none of the guys never told me that you, Miss Ratchet, and the doctors could keep me here till you're good and ready to turn me loose. That's what I'd like to know.
Well, fine, Randall. That's a good start. Would anyone care to answer, Mr. McMurphy?
Answer what?
You heard me, Harding. You let me go on hassling Nurse Ratchet here, knowing how much I had to lose, and you never told me nothing.
Now, Mac, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I didn't know anything about how much. Wait a minute. Now, listen. Now, look. I'm voluntary here. See, I'm not committed. I don't have to stay here. I mean, I can go home anytime I want.
You can go home anytime you want.
That's it.
You're bullshitting me.
No.
He's bullshitting me, right?
No, Randall. He's telling you the truth. As a matter of fact, there are very few men here who are committed. There's Mr. Bromden, Mr. Tabor, some of the Chronics, and you.
Billy, for Christ's sakes, you must be committed, right?
No.
Okay. I mean, you're just a young kid. What are you doing here? You ought to be out in a convertible, bird dogging chicks and banging beaver. What are you doing here, for Christ's sake? What's so funny about that? Well, Jesus, I mean, you guys do nothing but complain about how you can't stand it in this place here, and then you haven't got the guts just to walk out? I mean, what do you think you are, for Christ's sake? Crazy or something? Mm-hmm. Well, you're not. You're not. You're no crazier than the average asshole out walking around on the streets, and that's it.
All right, here we go. It's How We Sees It, episode 311. This week we're coming back with a throwback for November 2025. We're going 50 years back to the day.
To the day.
To the day. November 19th, 1975. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was released in the theater.
That's awesome.
I know. That's why I was like, I kept hearing people talk about it, like, oh yeah, released on, and I was like, wait, 19? Oh, we're recording it? Oh my God, we're doing 50 years to the day. I was like, that's fucking cool. I had never seen this, which I know this is, I mean, this is an award-winning movie. This was like one of 3 movies that got the Big Five, right? So that was
it happened one night. Did Silence of the Lambs? Was that another one?
Those are the other 2.
Okay.
Look at you. I knew you knew that.
I didn't. Well, you say Big Five. I was thinking Big Four, but yeah, it got screenplay too. Okay.
Yep. Well, apparently that's what they call the Big Five and stuff like that, and I'm sure there's probably more that got the Big Four, but this one got all 5 of them, and I think it was total number was 9 that it was nominated for, but it pulled the Big Five, so that's pretty cool.
I knew about the It Happened One Night because I was watching a little behind the scenes with the director Milos Forman, and he said after they won, he got a I was going to say he got an email. It's like, no, this is 1975. He didn't get an email, but he got a call or some sort of a letter of congratulations from, I think it's Frank.
It was a little boy who ran up with the letter, I'm sure.
Frank Capra, who directed It Happened One Night.
Okay.
Is that the right name?
He probably sent just a little runner. That's what they did back in the
Basically,
day.
it said "Welcome to the club," though. I think did I say that? Yeah.
Well, at the time, he would have been they would have been the only 2.
Yeah.
Right, because it was 91 when Silence of the Lambs, which I was surprised. I was like, I mean, Silence of the Lamb is a great movie, but I was really surprised that it got all 5 of that too. I was like, ooh, okay. I might need to go back and rewatch that. I know it's a huge movie, just like this was, and I was amazed. I know this movie. I know about this movie. I don't know the details in it, but I knew, everybody knows the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So you at least know the title.
And even
sure.
when I mentioned it to you last week, it was Nurse Ratched.
Nurse Ratched.
You're like, oh, of course, Nurse Ratched. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
You know that's where it's from. I didn't know anything more about that. I knew it was in a say an asylum or there. I'm not sure what the
mental institution. I don't know.
Back then, funny farm. A lot of people called it, but that's where the name The One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because cuckoo and being crazy. And,
sure.
But just I didn't know this came from a book. Apparently, this is a book that a lot of people read in high school.
Ken Kesey. I don't know if I read it or not. I think I've read.
I know I didn't.
Yeah, but and it's written more from the point of view of the chief, and kind of takes on a little bit more of a tall tale. It was considered hard to reproduce into a movie because of how the book.
Well, they even had him write a screenplay, and he got mad that they didn't want to use his screenplay and tried to sue him.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay.
It's kind of funny because, it was Jack Nicholson back to back. He does this movie and then he does The Shining. And in both instances, they're from original material from authors, from big deal authors that are just furious with the results of the movies that, audiences are very receptive towards, but the authors are like, fuck that. That sucks.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, he did win his suit. He settled. Like, he was asking for a lot more. But ended up getting like 2% of the profits or whatever like that, which turned out to be huge at that point. So he got a lot of money for it. But it's just kind of also like, how are you going to sue somebody because they didn't want to use your idea? They paid you for your screenplay. They paid him for it and just decided to not use it. But then he gets mad. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. But we'll get into more about that later and more into Ken Kesey and Milos Forman and all the other stuff. Before we get to
Milos, I think it's
Milos.
Yeah, at least that's how I saw it pronounced all over the place. But it's
if I was just to read this, because the way I read, I would read that as Milos.
Milos. Yeah.
Milos. But anyways, we're gonna get into that. But before we get into that, we got to get into our cocktails, because you can't talk about some cuckoos without some cocktails. And so, I actually looked for a One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest cocktail and found a couple different iterations, but I ended up going with something completely different. To me, this movie was a lot about chaos and control. Right? Causing chaos and keeping control. So I made a cocktail that I called Controlled Chaos.
Nice.
I was going back and forth, and that's what I settled on, was Controlled Chaos. And it's a pretty simple drink, but I like the idea of it. So the chaos portion of this is 2.5 ounces of Wild Turkey 101. So I wanted to go with something that's just comes right out and smacks you in the mouth like chaos often does, right?
Nice.
But to get control of that, you want to control your flavors. So I went with 1 ounce of a grapefruit shrub, just because I know that would give me back into that area of where I like to get my cocktails into that citrusy flavor.
Nice. You went with a shrub. That's
and I went with 1 ounce of a pineapple juice, because that always mellows out a cocktail for me. And when you got chaos, you want to mellow it out. You want to kind of get it back under control. And then I wanted a little bit of movement in this, because that's what chaos causes and stuff like that. So I went with a seltzer water, right? I went with a lemon seltzer water to give it a little bit of bubble, a little bit of movement. And it's a pretty simple drink. Pour that in a Collins glass over ice, and we'll see what we got.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, if you like Wild Turkey, this is going to be for you, because it really the flavor's still there, but it's not that smack in the mouth that you would normally take from a straight shot. But it's got that strong bourbon over flavor with that kind of nice shrub, grapefruit shrub and pineapple kind of sweetened control to it. So that's my Controlled Chaos.
Nice. Well, I went with more the ensemble cast of characters. And so I ended up picking 3 characters and making cocktails and tied them together. The first one I went with was Danny DeVito's character. You know, he's named Martini, so that was pretty easy. Yep. So I did what
I didn't even think of that. Thank God, that's.
I know.
That's
well,
so stupid.
I mean, but yeah, that can't be where it ends. You know, there's more to it.
Right.
So I called it the short martini because he's short, but you know, a martini that's considered short is also a very spirit forward. You know, it's so I made it a much higher potency of a martini.
So high octane.
Yep, and it's good for his character too because he's got a lot. You know, for a little guy, he's got a lot of energy, a lot to say. It was great. I think this was his first. Almost one of his first film roles.
Yes.
But so that's 1.5 ounces of gin, just 1/4 ounce of the dry vermouth, 2 dashes of orange bitters, and I'll get to that in a second. Lemon twist, and I put it in a little short glass too. So, and then to go along with that, I went with what I called the Bromden Highball. Now that's Chief Bromden Highball. I thought was a fair enough. See,
nice tall drink of water.
Yeah, but and also how he holds the ball up real high. And,
there you go. Yeah,
pops it out of the net. And so that's 2 ounces of bourbon, 1/2 ounce of my smoked maple syrup, 3/4 ounces lemon juice, 2 dashes of orange bitters, and some soda water. And I put it in a Collins glass, and that's my Bromden Highball. And then I got to get McMurphy in there. So my third one was I called the McMurphy Mule. Okay. I like this idea of a mule. He's a kind of a stubborn ass, and he has quite the punch, I guess.
Yeah.
So
you like to fight.
Yeah,
you like to fight and fuck.
So I made it an Irish whiskey since it's a McMurphy. I figured that works. 2 ounces of an Irish whiskey, 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, 2 dashes of orange bitters, ginger beer, and lime wheel. Now, you'll notice all of them have orange bitters. That was my theme that I kind of tied it together. And I called it the Bitter Pill Trio. If you notice the nice. Pill that he kind of, it's an orange colored pill. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, I kind of like this idea of the bitter pill to swallow in this movie. So I called it the Bitter Pill Trio. I got 3 cocktails that all kind of tie together with those orange bitters. Again, orange pill, orange bitters.
Nice.
And even though the cocktails themselves aren't bitters, but hey, the pill in itself brings its own bitterness.
Right.
So there we go.
Nice. That's awesome. That's really good. I didn't even think martini. That would have been really perfect. I probably would have went with something like a happy martini because he just he is. It took me a minute to even realize that was Danny DeVito.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, he is so different than I've ever seen him in anything. Like, he's always the grumpy little guy. I mean, in the stuff, Taxi. One of the first things I ever remember seeing him from, he was always just the mean little, South Pole elf kind of thing.
Grumpy.
Yeah, exactly. And then, when he was in Batman Returns as the Penguin, there was a persona about him. And then, you got stuff that you see him in today where it's like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia or even those New Jersey Mike commercials. He's just kind of he just has this to him,
And he's directed stuff too. He did Matilda, but he also played the father in it. So he directed it and started and played like the abusive father. Not necessarily physically abusive, but certainly mentally abusive. That was a great movie. And he directed Michael Douglas in War of the Roses with Kathleen Turner, which was interesting because Michael Douglas was a producer on this film, which we'll get into his connection with that as we move on. But this movie, I think, is when Danny DeVito developed a really good friendship with Jack Nicholson because apparently they grew up in the same town, even though they didn't know each other, but they knew of each other. And so once they found out they had that in common, it became
I think they even went to like the same school or same church there's some tie to them. I listened to one of a podcast. So I kind of went out and listened to a couple different ones, and then I started specifically picking ones that were female led or two or more female hosts, just because I wanted to get their take on it, because there's a lot to do with this a very misogynist type feeling to this movie, and if talking about the book. So their big tie is New Jersey, and so they were big on the like, oh yeah, they're both from New Jersey, and had all these ties back to New Jersey, which I thought was pretty cool, and learning from that. Danny DeVito's been in a ton of stuff, and it's amazing when I go back and look at all these different things. I'm like, holy crap, I don't even remember him from half of this stuff. But the guy's been working forever. I mean, Twins is one that I definitely remember. Throw Mama from the Train, but that was back, when I was in high school, when movies hit a little different.
And that was another one he directed, I believe. Throw Mama from the Train. So
funny. You were talking about first movie. It wasn't Danny DeVito. This was like his fourth or fifth.
Okay.
But what it was Christopher Lloyd's first movie.
Right.
Another
huge, taxi alumni.
Right?
Yeah.
That guy kind of, as you're watching this movie, there's so many of those in that. Like, it was just like, holy crap. There was another one that jumped out at me too. He didn't have a lot of speaking parts, but he was in a lot. He's the tall, thin.
You know him from Fast Times, don't you? He's the one who pulls the heart out. This is the heart.
Yep. Exactly. I'm trying to find his name here real quick, but I was like, holy shit, there's another guy. And the amount of people.
Billy, we know him from Lord of the Rings and Dune. Billy Bibbit, played by Brad Dourif.
I think this is one of his early movies too, because he's really young in that.
He gets a introducing credit in the movie, so this might be his first movie.
His first,
yeah. It is listed on IMDb as. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Wikipedia.
Vincent Schiavelli is the other one. He was the teacher in Fast Times, but he's one of the background patients.
It was so
like I said.
I watched a behind the scenes of like a 45-minute documentary about the makings of this, and it was actually done and had some interviews from 2011, but it also had some interviews from the time 1974 when they were filming this, and he gave some really weird interviews, almost like, because they really immersed themselves in these characters. A lot of them lived, slept in the beds there.
I think the whole crew did. They said the whole crew, and they followed around patients.
Some of the crew was actually patients.
Of the patients. Yeah. True. You were talking about Brad Dorfin. Is that it? Dourif
is how it's spelled. Dourif.
Okay. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff, and he was in Lord of the Rings, a big part, but he was Wormtongue, so you really don't like him in that. But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of his known for. But you know what he's also really known for?
Well, Dune is what I know him for. But what you're going to say? Oh, Chucky, right?
Chucky, the voice of Chucky.
In fact, not only that, apparently he's retired except for Chucky,
the voice,
because I think his daughter does has a role in the ongoing series, and he says, "I'm always there to do the voice of Chucky if you need me."
Yep.
So
exactly, which I thought was pretty cool. Another great, but there's just a lot of guys in this that you're like, oh man, and of course, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
he fit this role so well that it just, he has that. There's something, he does a lot of face acting. Have you noticed? I don't know. When I was watching this.
He does. Well, yeah, he acts with his eyes, with his grin, with,
Yeah, it's almost like he sits there and just makes faces, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? But, it works. Not everybody can pull it off. He can.
There was an interview with the doctor that ran the actual mental institute they shot at, because he was cast,
as the doctor.
And he got some tips from Jack Nicholson, because he was
Dean R. Brooks.
Yeah, and he said Jack Nicholson told him that, don't move your eyes, move your face so you know where you're looking at. Or, it was very much eye acting or facial acting. So just to your point, that's interesting that that he calls that out directly.
So that's funny that Dean R. Brooks as Dr. Spivey, that scene when he's talking to where am I? I don't want to call him McMurphy.
Sure.
There was no script for that scene at all.
I know.
They basically gave the doctor a binder with all the stuff that would have been his file and stuff like that.
You got to cover this point, this point, this point. How you get there is up to you, but make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said he said they did it in 2 takes, and they were able to get it all.
It was like a 15-minute thing that they broke down to like 6 minutes, which is pretty cool.
It's interesting because I haven't seen this in a long time, and I was watching it again, and I remember feeling a little uncomfortable at the beginning because it didn't feel very polished. It's like I remember Jack Nicholson, and that scene in particular just felt like they were talking over each other at times and stuff, and it's like, well, this is very raw and real.
Yeah.
but part of me was like, but it should be a little bit more polished than that. And then I hear about this, and it's like, wow, they were really going for something a little bit more, some realism. They brought in some real actual background characters that were patients and
right.
Shot it in a living ward. One that.
It was in Oregon. Yeah, it was all kinds of, just it really worked. I guess they were searching around for ones, and this place was an actual hospital, and it was designed to hold up to 200 and something patients, but only had like 50 at the time. So they're like, we got this whole wing you guys can use, and so.
And I guess the doctor wanted to use it as therapy for the patients there, like actually take advantage of it. It's like bring them in, and that's why they got to do some work on the picture. They got to do some, they had some gaffer assistants and doing stuff where they were helping out. In fact, there's some funny stories about some of them. It turned out they didn't know this at the time, but the ones that were working on it were actually criminally insane, not just, and they were doing some
the arson guy,
working with kerosene to clean some of the arc lights or something like that. Like, oh my gosh, they find out about this stuff.
Yeah, maybe we got away with one on that. That was interesting.
But I guess a lot of the other hospitals were opposed to the source material, which was much more, probably even more anti lobotomy or some of the practices than the movie turned out to be. So
that whole scene where they're up on there's a name for that ward where they're up with all the more violent and the more, where they do the shock therapy and stuff like all of those were actual doctors and attendants and
patients.
Well, I was also talking about the guys that were the guards.
Oh, gotcha.
Orderlies. That's the word. And so and they're like, just treat them like you would a regular patient. And I was like, holy shit.
You remember when they're interviewing and they're not interviewing, but they're talking to the doctors, saying
the 3 doctors,
whether or not McMurphy should stay. And there was the Indian the Indian
yes.
I saw an interview with him in this 2011 documentary, and he said he was opposed to them shooting there. He was one of but he was pleased that the Dean Brooks, the actual person, would listen to him. Right. But they massaged his fears by giving him a role.
Yeah, I mean they did a lot with so one of the things is they were trying to find someone to play Chief, right? They needed a very large Native American, and apparently
Indians aren't typically or Native Americans aren't typically very large.
Yeah, well, or they are, but it's just they're not actors, or they're hard to find.
Not according to Milos Forman. He said that was a challenge because most of them are not very large.
I don't know. I've seen some. I knew some guys that when I was in school that were Native that were pretty big dudes. But I mean, he's 6'7", big guy, Will Sampson, and so the guy that played the harbor master was a local car salesman, like a used car salesman, and he worked at rodeos, and that's where he found Will Sampson and got a hold. I think it was.
The director, Milos.
No, it was actually one of
Douglas.
Douglas.
Okay.
he had been on a plane flight with Douglas, and Douglas was talking to him, and that's how and so he gave him his card, and he found him at a rodeo, and then called him back, and so to thank him, they gave him that part.
Well, and they actually brought in Jack Nicholson to like do a scene with him to make sure he could actually act. But
apparently they didn't get along.
Oh, they didn't. Oh, I didn't get that impression from what I saw. But okay, you've got some extra stories.
What I heard is that there was something happened, and they were talking and started arguing, and that's what they ended up taking and then filming the next. Like they were like, keep this going, and that's when they went and filmed out. So that's where that animosity kind of feel from it when he's on the talking to him at the boat.
Wait,
no, not the chief. Not the chief. The
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
The harbor master.
Okay.
With Jack Nicholson. Him and Jack Nicholson didn't get along apparently. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. No, the Will Sampson they got along great, from what I understand. So the other one that is just a weird, interesting thing that happened with this is Louise Fletcher, who was Nurse Ratched.
Yeah.
Won Best Actress in this, but then just really never got it. It was almost like a one movie typecast that she just, didn't get roles after this as much as you would think she would. And a lot of people were talking about that. And then she ended up,
she was in Gone Fishing. Come on, Gone Fishing. That's with Danny Glover and Joe Pesci.
That was a huge, huge hit. No, I'm not saying she didn't get any work, but I mean, some people.
You're right, but I think she kind of got. I think a lot of people just didn't like her enough to where that probably created a little bit of challenge for her.
Well, I think they were talking about when they were casting this, right? There was a lot of big actresses that were up for this role and didn't want it, and I think a lot of them were because they knew the book, and in the book apparently the Nurse Ratched is way more of a monster, right? She's very like embodiment of evil essentially. Like it's way more one-sided in how evil she is, and a lot of people knew that, and apparently they didn't want to be that person because they didn't want that on their resume, and so that's I get that, because then you typecast in a way, or it's like, oh, they're gonna see you and think evil, and it's like, oh, that sucks, which is interesting because I didn't know that going in. I knew Nurse Ratched was the nurse. I didn't know she was supposed to be. I never read the book, so I didn't know that she was supposed to be this embodiment of evil. I didn't know the details of what the writers were talking about and what the book talked about. I was like, she to me was not the bad guy. I think Jack Nicholson was really the what is it, the antagonist in this. To me, he was the antagonist rather than the protagonist, which
I think that's what kind of earned her the Academy Award, though. I mean, to kind of play that line that where she was, there was certain passive aggressiveness, and I think at one point she did kind of cross a line, but I mean, look at Jack Nicholson's character, or McMurphy, and all the stuff that he did to just poke and prod and just do. Well, he was the disruptor. He was he brought the chaos.
The chaos.
Yeah, sure.
She was the control, and he was the chaos, and that's. But what I was amazed by, and I went through the movie, and I was like, okay, I get it. This is those two, battling it out, whatever. And yes, she did cross a line in a way at the end where when she brings up the mother to Billy, and that's what essentially he commits suicide from.
There's that. I think there's also the scene with the doctors, when the doctors are like, he doesn't need to be here, and then it gets to her and she's like, we can fix him. And I think that's delicate, because I think she believes it. But I think that's something that's little.
There's two parts to that, though, too.
Okay.
So he was there because he wanted to. This is another thing. That's why I don't understand why people. And I swear there was some of these podcasts I listened to that they were like this. They were like, McMurphy's a god. Like he's the good guy, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But he went here because he didn't want to work hard because of his prison sentence. 68 days left at a work camp, and he didn't want to do it. And he's in there because of statutory rape, which apparently from the book they changed from a 15-year-old, and he's 30. He's supposed to be 38. She was 15 in the movie. In the book, she was 9.
Jeez.
I'm like, okay, wait, right off the bat, and that's your fucking good guy. That's the guy that you're calling the hero. I'm like, fuck that. And not only that, but then he's also, 5 fights, and he goes, well, I can't remember what boxer he says has so many fights, and he's a millionaire. And I was like, yeah, well, those are fights where the other guy knows he's coming in to fight, and it's a training. It's not just some physical attack on someone, which probably is what his is. I was just like, I don't understand how people. I looked at everything that Jack Nicholson did, and I was like, this guy's an asshole.
No, I think that's what makes it an interesting character. I think you're absolutely right. At the same time, he has a charisma that draws people towards him like a moth to a flame. It's just there's something about it. I printed up a bunch. How, back in the old days when you'd read a book, they'd have like at the end of the book
pamphlets.
They'd say like, these are topics you have for discussion and stuff. Oh. And I have these 10 points of like topics for discussion about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And this is about the movie. But number 3, McMurphy, savior or disruptive force. And it goes over a lot of the things you're talking about. I mean, you can look at him and say, this, and that. And the one right above it is Nurse Ratched, monster or product of the system. So you can see kind of, what the way you're kind of piecing this together, that I think it's completely fair. You're taking us. You're more on one side.
Ratched.
Yeah,
Nurse Ratched's side is she was right. Granted, now knowing she did cross a line a little bit that ended up in a bad way, but I don't think she meant it cruelly. Like I don't think she. Everybody was like how evil she is and all this, and I was like. My first thought was when people were calling her evil because she was butting heads with McMurphy, right? And I was like, wait a minute, how many people have a job, and someone comes in and just fucking destroys everything you're doing and fucking brings chaos into your work, and you're just gonna take it and go, oh, he's just being him, he's just putting a little angst out there. No. You're going to fucking stomp on that shit and say, hey, no, you don't come fucking, kicking my fucking broom out of my hand at work. It's just one of those, that's what I saw. Not only that, but we didn't get back detail. Like we get these scenes where they have the group therapy, right? And, they're talking. And the idea is she's trying to get these guys to talk about why they're in there and what they're in there for and stuff like that. And everybody's like, well, why does she keep pressing him? Like, have you guys ever been in a group therapy session? That's what that shit is. You don't get a fucking break to like, oh, I don't want to talk about me. That's the whole point, is to talk about you, and everybody else has opinions about it, and you get it out there so you can see what other people think of it, and it makes you think. So she's doing literally what they do today in group therapy, not just what they were doing in the 70s and 60s.
So as right as I think you are, I think you're bringing up some excellent points. And I'm not saying I'm pro Nurse Ratched and anti McMurphy. I see. I'm always the one in the middle that I just want everyone to get along, right? But hearing what you're saying though, and that when this movie came out, this is a time.
It was in the 70s.
Yeah, it was in the 70s. There was Vietnam. That we were coming out of Vietnam, and there was a lot of
the counterculture.
Yeah, the hippie movement and stuff like that, where it was much about trying to push back on
take it to the man
on people that were wielding their power. And in this sense, I think there was some sort of a little bit of a, I don't want to call it, I don't think this was an agenda movie, because I think
it definitely was.
I think it had some agenda moments when it came to some of the questioning the lobotomy, but I think a lot of that came from the source material in the book. I think the reason this movie succeeded so much was the ensemble cast and how 100%. How they filmed it. But
yes.
But the result was so many people put McMurphy, and I when I say so many people, I mean audiences that saw this movie just fell in love with Jack Nicholson and McMurphy because of his charisma, and they demonized Nurse Ratched. What does that tell you about audiences? What do you think? Do you think that just audiences lean a little bit more liberally and kind of maybe there was such a desire to kind of a cathartic nature to kind of having something that
I think a lot of it might have stemmed from the book was very popular when the movie came out, right? So a lot of people had read the book, and in the book it's definitely geared a little bit more towards Ratched being a very evil person. And so I think a lot of people came in with that. And then also I heard, the director and the writers were, in their interviews and stuff like that, they were saying, she's definitely the embodiment of evil. And yes, Jack Nicholson is very charismatic. Oh, fuck, I can't even say that. He's got a gravitas to him, but it doesn't mean what he's doing is right. Yeah. And that's where I was like, I don't care how fucking cool someone looks doing it or how how they come.
It's interesting with the way he pulls off his character, because I agree there's times when it's very self-centered and selfish and he just wants he's
his whole time is,
but there are genuine moments where he's rooting for these people. He wants a connection. With the fishing,
I disagree with that in a way, because if you look at everything that he was doing, right? If you look
think
at
it's
the way
all motivated selfily, you don't see any of those moments. Okay,
I don't, because here's why I say that. Well, okay, 99% of it is self-motivated, right? That fishing trip, he runs away, it jumps on the boat or jumps on the bus to take these guys out. Doesn't even tell them where they go. Doesn't ask them where they want to go. Doesn't have this great plan. His plan was to go pick up.
He wants to screw Candy, yeah.
Yeah, a prostitute, and take her out on the boat so he can go have sex with her. He didn't give a fuck about the rest of the guys. That was just his way. It was like, oh, let me get you guys fishing so you will leave me alone while I go have sex with this. And it didn't work out. So his motivation was not to go have a boat trip with these guys. His motivation was to go have sex. And, for me to get on the bus and get out with, these guys are coming along. I can't just drop them off downtown and leave them, So, which is another thing, is like, how the fuck did he not go back and like end up in some kind of trouble? They don't address it at all. Like, he stole a bus, he escaped essentially. That should have been right away. Like, oh, well, you got another year on your prison time, right? It just, and then the one that really got me is when he has his blow up, right? Until this point, he was happy-go-lucky, trying to, get in with the guys, and he's playing poker with them, taking all their money and all their cigarettes, right? A good guy doesn't do that. That's just a guy taking over all the control,
taking advantage. Yeah,
right, fully taking advantage. But when he found out that, my 68 days and I don't get to leave because my prison sentence is up, I got to stay here until you guys let me go, he snapped. You can see the switch, and he's like, oh shit, it doesn't matter if these guys like me. I'm not just getting to spend a couple weeks off until I get to go out. He's like, oh, I fucked up. And that's when you go, and then you can see the change in, like, he's not doing stuff for everybody else. He's not kind of, oh, you're my buddy. He kind of snaps on everybody a little bit. And that's where I was like, this guy is not a good guy at all. I mean, he had the one kind of personal relationship with Chief, which is, I don't even know how realistic that was, because in the beginning, he's just trying to do shit to not be bored.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, oh shit, I got to be out on this basketball court. I'm going to get this big Indian to make baskets.
Well, here's number 4, Chief Bromden's arc. is he the true protagonist? It talks about him being the silent observer trapped in the fog. I think the fog is in quotes because that's probably a reference to the book. But he's the character who achieves the film's only true escape. He's kind of visually seeing all these things playing out, and he's the one that kind of uses it as his. Well, the book is from his perspective. Right. Yeah.
And so that's why they couldn't make the movie because you can't do that. His is a very interesting one too. Like it's a big, oh wow, in the movie when he gives him the juicy fruit stick, and he says thank you.
Yep.
And you're like, oh shit, you can talk, which then makes this whole time he's just in there, like you're like, so you just not talking and not speaking and not like act like you can't hear so that you don't have to live life so that and also most of these guys are volunteers, right? Or not volunteers, but
voluntary, yeah.
Voluntary, except for him, Chief. It was Christopher Lloyd's
except
character.
For Chief? Wait,
Chief is not voluntary, and neither was Tabor, which was Christopher Lloyd. And what's it? Why do I fucking keep forgetting his name? McMurphy. Those were the three that apparently were not self put in, right? Yeah. They were the ones that were criminal intent, is what I was told and understood in the things I've listened to. So he, but they don't go into detail, so we don't know exactly what Chief did, why he was in there. I guess in the book, it's very much more he stopped talking because people didn't listen, and he felt small, and they go through this whole thing about him feeling really small and tiny. Matter of fact, there's a caption from the book where they talk about McMurphy holding his hand, grabbing his hand, and he says he looks at his hand as being tiny in McMurphy's hand, which it actually would be the opposite kind of thing. So it's a big growth for him. It's him, getting out of being this small person and stuff. So that gets lost in the movie translation from the book.
I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
The Chief part with him just, he can talk. It was kind of like, okay, it's a great twist, but it's also kind of weird too. It's like, why? Why? Like, like it didn't make me go, oh my God, Chief's this great, thinker or all this. It was just like, oh, okay. He just didn't want to deal with anything. So he acted, deaf and dumb. And
it could be an act. It could be, I've
well, I mean, McMurphy even says, you fooled them all,
I have this great comic strip. I'm looking over here. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, wait. Anyway, it's a whole comic strip about depression, and it's told from the point of view of someone who's gone through depression and the way they describe it. And a lot of the comic bubbles, the little squares, where it's people trying to say, just be happy. Why are you sad? And trying to cheer them up. And a lot of this is just like depression doesn't work that way. It's something that is just hard to combat. And I'm just saying it's possible that there's more to his story as far as, especially if in the book they talk about him being in a fog, then.
Yeah, they go deep into it in the book where his,
and someone like McMurphy, in this comic strip, I think it's a peanut that's sitting underneath the refrigerator that finally kind of captures the attention of I know it's ridiculous, but it's just something that made the person laugh and uncontrollably. And from there, they were finally able to find a path out of depression. And I think there's some realism into how it's not a straightforward red carpet that says this is the path to happiness or this is the path out of your. So I don't think he was acting. I think it was just something that he had fallen into. Maybe it was a depression, or maybe it was just something that.
I think he was acting.
Well,
the way it shows in the movie, it seems like he was He's like, yeah, I just chose to act that way.
Maybe it was someone like McMurphy that was able to open that up, and finally, once he spoke, because I mean, well, even like Billy's character, after he has sex, he comes out, he loses his stutter. For just about 30 seconds until Nurse Ratched said, "I'm going to tell your mom," and then boom, the stuttering comes back full force.
What trips that one up is yes, she said the wrong thing, right? She definitely did, but she also
doesn't want McMurphy to win. I think that was a big part of it.
I don't know if that's it either. Like, to me, she had been working with him for a while, right? We don't know the whole backstory to it, but we know that his mother was a big part of why he was in there. Whatever the thing, she was working and she had used the mother and knows the mother. We don't know everything that's happened before this, and that's where it's weird. It's like she said what she said because she's probably working. She's trying to help him, but it may be not the right way. It may be a long game, and this McMurphy comes in and fucking ruins everything she's been trying to do. Because in a way, McMurray kind of set him up to be raped, if you think about it. Because he says he doesn't want to go in there.
Yeah.
He's like, no, and he tries to run, and he tells the other guys, go get him, right? Not only that, but he forces Candy. He's like, yeah, I just need you to do that. It's like what kind of shit is that? That to me is like, I'm like, he's not, like, if he wouldn't have done that, he's taking
chances with these people's lives. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I agree.
Is responsible for that as Nurse Ratched is.
You were talking a little while ago, and I think just even now, just talking about the duality between a character like McMurphy and some of these mental patients. Just yesterday, coincidentally, I was watching Rain Man with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman, where
definitely Walmart
and Tom Cruise, I think it's one of his best performances where he's playing.
That's a great movie.
Maybe I don't know if we even talk about it when we did our Tom Cruise
we
podcast,
didn't.
but where he is someone that the whole movie it's hard to really like him. He's just an ass, and yet there's something that you see the way that Raymond is able to. They just have a connection that you start rooting for, and in the end, it's not like Tom Cruise's character. What's his name? I can't. Babbitt? No, I was Billy Babbitt. Is that it? Maybe I'm right, but that's Billy Bibbit. Now
Billy Bibbit is in this one.
Yeah, I know, but Babbitt.
Let's see, what is that?
Rain Man.
I'm Hoffman,
Charlie Babbitt, and Raymond Babbitt. That's interesting. I wonder if the fact that it's anyway. And I'm trying to look at connections that aren't there. But here's a movie that also plays two characters where Tom Cruise is usually plays kind of the hero of a movie, and this is not one where that's the case. This is one where he is not a likable character. He doesn't,
right.
3/4 of the way through, you're still like, what the fuck are we supposed to be rooting for this guy? Because I do not like him. And then they finally start having connections, and it doesn't defy his character. It's not like he suddenly comes out of this fog and like, I'm a good guy now. In the end, he loses his custody. He has to kind of turn him over to back to the mental institution where Raymond is staying for his autism. But
right.
But it's that connection still remains, and I think it gives Charlie's a little bit of humanity. And it's interesting in this movie. I don't think you ever see that. I think they kind of detour to Chief to kind of give him the moment in the end because McMurphy is
more.
McMurphy is never going to come out of this. He thinks he is completely in the right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with McMurphy is he through the whole thing he is. Everything's my way. I'm always right. In the interactions with all the guys when he's arguing with them or whatever, and there's the scene when they're in the tub room, right? And he tries to lift up the thing to throw it through. It's, well, at least I tried. And it's like, okay, whatever. Or the big scene when he's trying to get him to turn on the World Series, right? And it's like, oh, I want to watch the World Series. Okay, you're one of 18 people in here. Sit the fuck down, right? You don't. He's a child throwing tantrums.
He is. Yep.
That's literally what I saw through the whole thing.
And Nurse Ratched is like a mother trying to keep the peace, or kind of keep things
exactly.
Yeah.
She can't give in to him because then she has to give in to everybody, and he's literally. I mean, right off the bat, he tells the guys, "Give me 1 week and I'll have a bun up her ass so hard that it's like." So he's not even doing it for any reason other than to be a dick. Like, you just see that right away, and it just amazed me. And it was one of the, I listened to one podcast, and it really kind of pissed me off. Like, I literally was like, if I wish those guys could have been in front of me, because it was like their take on Nurse Ratched was she was pure, darkest evil ever, like top 5 villains of all time. And I was like, what is fucking wrong with you? And I was like, I mean, if someone ever came to me and said Nurse Ratched was one of the top 5 villains of all time, I would question that person's sanity. I was like, so someone that's trying to keep control, and not only that, for the safety of all these other people that she's having to deal with, right? That's evil because she wants control. And I think everybody's like, oh, it's the control for herself. It's like, no, it's the control of the whole situation to keep everybody safe. So that was, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm over 50 and watching this for the first time.
No, I think your opinion is actually extremely valid, and I don't think it discounts the movie. I think Milos Forman, the director, wanted to bring some more realism to the character. He really didn't want to have this evil character. He wanted someone that was much more human and, passive aggressive, maybe, playing things in a way that you could relate to, that made sense, and that made audiences question whether that was something that was good or evil. And so I think that's, if anything, that's why that elevated the character to an even higher status of evil, because of the controversy of like, oh my God, I'm so in love with McMurphy because he's so charismatic, so I must hate Nurse Ratched, even though
I guess
you can totally see. I think they scripted her character in such a effective way in that it was so human and so thoughtful in its approach. And yeah, there was some nuanced evilness to it that you could put in that category, but it wasn't. It was human.
And maybe I felt more sympathy for Ratched because I saw the bully that he was when he came in. Mm-hmm. Right?
He was trying to game the system from the beginning. I mean, he came in with a motive.
Oh, yeah.
And he was stupid. Oh, my God. He didn't even know that
was the other... I actually liked that part. Suddenly, I was like, you dumbass.
Yeah, your time is no longer finite. You're there like, until they say
you gamed the system. Yeah. The system just gamed you.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things. I saw him as a bully from right away, and maybe that's me being so anti-bully in that aspect that I was like, fuck this guy. I've known people in high school that were McMurphys. That had that charisma.
Me too.
And they would come in and they would Martini, right? Just a happy-go-lucky kid that wasn't all the sharpest, and he would just use them and abuse them, and just, you're like, dude, quit taking his fucking lunch money. Like, it's just one of those things. That's the kind of guy I saw McMurphy as. And it just was one of those things. It's like, fucking A.
It's funny because I have a friend I'm thinking of that reminds me of McMurphy, but I don't think he was a bad guy. I just think he had so much energy. Jeff Green, if you're listening to this, he just had charisma and energy. And I remember when I first started hanging out with him in late high school, or maybe even at post high school, but it was we started making movies together. But we'd go places, and at first I would be embarrassed by his, he was so
Antics.
obnoxious, and at one point I think it kind of helped me in that I finally just kind of, it's like, this is kind of exciting. I'm on a roller coaster ride whenever I go out with him, and I got to just kind of stand back and enjoy the charisma that was coming out. And some people were, I was surrounded by people that were kind of offended by some of the stuff he would pull off. But
I know the person. I'm not going to say a name, but I know the person.
Anyway, so
But yeah, charisma sometimes can be that where, yes, you get a lot.
And I think he turned into a nurse, too. That's kind of ironic.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's what he
Yeah,
became.
the guy I'm thinking about was a total ladies' man, total charisma. Everybody loved him. Ended up a criminal and did time. So, but anyways, Cheswick, he is one. You want to talk about acting in this, and this is one of the things I thought about this movie when I was watching it. I was like, man, I understand why this won Best Picture. I understand why this got because the movie itself is very well shot, very well done, and they talked a lot about the way the director was doing this. Like, he would have 3 cameras rolling it and just having these, so you never had a chance to get out of character. The people in the background didn't have a chance to not bring it, because you didn't know if the third camera was on you or the second camera was on you, and a lot of those scenes were picked up because of that extra camera and things like
they
that.
kept rolling. Yeah. In fact, I think Jack Nicholson thought he was doing a lot of rehearsals all the time, and yet he was actually doing some filming during that. And yeah. Well, Cheswick, though, he was a character that I struggled with because he's just kind of a baby.
Well, he was one of those ones. So Sidney Lassick was the actor, and during the filming, he actually had some episodes where he literally talked to the doctors there, the real doctors, and they're like, and he's like, oh yeah, no, you're doing fine. We got you this. And, and apparently one of the doctors talked to the director, and he's like, look, if he gets too far into this, we have the right prescription right here, ready to go.
Oh my God.
It's like, so he literally was having he was close to his own meltdowns and stuff like that. But yeah, he was kind of,
he threw tantrums and stuff.
I don't want to call him weak-willed. Well, no, but I think it's one of those is like, yeah, he kind of was childlike in a way. He, he latched on to power. Like when he first started, when we first come in, it was, what's the guy's name? The really smart kind of wordy guy.
Oh, Dale Harding.
Harding was kind of like, he was the little bit of a ringleader. Like he was the kind of the one that kind of had the power. And when McMurphy came in, and
he had intellect. He had
intellect. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, he looked up to Harding until McMurphy got there and kind of started weaseling in and downplaying him and stuff like that and taking over. And then he switched up. So he was a yes man. Remember, what is it, Looney Tunes, where it had the big dog and it has the little dog that's bouncing all around him? That was Chadwick, right? He followed power.
Oh, that's perfect.
He followed,
I like that.
that's what he was. And he also, we got that great scene. He's like, you took away our cigarettes. I just want my cigarettes. And she even calls him out. Yeah, I took it away because this motherfucker's taking all your shit. Yeah. He's taking advantage of you. I'm protecting you. And then he has this is where McMurphy also turned on his guys, because he even agreed with Nurse Ratched at this point. I was like, fuck, you guys are just out of control. Just a crazy scene. But yeah, there's so much dynamic. He was so good in it. Danny DeVito as Martini, he was so fun to watch, because he just had that just dumb smile on all the time and just looked apparently
and it had hair. He had hair.
Yeah. To get into character, he created a imaginary friend and everything and stuff like that. So, he just lived it.
The director said in the 2011 interview that he assigned each of these each of these actors to an actual mental patient and said, I want you to mimic who they are. And so interesting. I didn't see any more than that, but you almost want to see the actual people that they mimicked. And,
right.
And I'm sure they kind of created their own characters.
I want to say I heard this, and I might have got it a little bit wrong, but Danny DeVito also did this on a stage play. He played the same character, Martini, on a stage play.
I wonder. We talked about Michael Douglas a little bit, but Michael Douglas had the rights to this because of his dad, Kurt Douglas, who actually
wanted to play McMurphy.
I think he bought the rights to the book right away. Early on, he performed on Broadway or on the stage, but he couldn't get financing, and it took a while, and so he gave it to his son. Yeah, but
his son read it, and he's like, "I want to do this," and he goes, "Well, good luck, because no movie theater wants to do it, or no movie studio." So yeah, he did. He actually. The older Douglas got a hold of the director originally, right? He told him he was going to send him the book,
and it got stopped at the I guess this is Czechoslovakia, so it got stopped, and then it was later just coincidental that
crazy. I mean, it's crazy how it all came together, and it's amazing that it all came together for what we got. It is an incredible movie. I do not regret watching it at all.
No, I love your take on it because I think it's a very valid point of view, and yeah, you are in the minority, but
I saw that right away.
But I do think the filmmakers created something that was very honest, so that we could kind of look at these characters and say, no, wait, there's humanity here. That they didn't create these kind of two-dimensional characters.
Well, that's what's interesting is I saw all the humanity in all the other patients, right? I didn't have even Chief, all of them. Like, there was nobody in there that was like, oh, this guy's off. He shouldn't be out. The only one I saw in there, McMurphy, is like, yeah, he's a fucking criminal. He's trying to scam the system. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Give him extra time. And that's the bullying and just. So it was weird that I
think that was the brilliance of the casting of Jack Nicholson, because he played the character so well, and yet the audience comes away saying, "I want to be Jack Nicholson." He's got that charisma, and I know that I'm not pointing to you. I'm pointing to 95% of the rest of the audience that is just drawn towards him, and that's the brilliance, I think, of the casting. I think the director actually wanted Burt Reynolds originally, but
yes, I was just going to say that Burt Reynolds was one of the guys, and I was like, ooh.
Well, production studios pushed back. They wanted someone a little bit more famous, and I guess this was before Burt Reynolds.
Well, at the time, Burt Reynolds was a bigger name.
Wait, wow. Well, okay.
70s.
Well, you got Longest Yard. That was about it, though. We weren't into any of his.
I thought he had.
Smoking the Bandits.
When was Cannonball Run and all those?
Oh, that was early '80s, or yeah. No, we're not.
But he was.
Longest Yard is the only
for one.
Okay. I mean, he might have pulled it off. He's done some great.
That apparently the book
Boogie
has
Nights.
him as a big. That was 77, so that was later.
What? Longest Yard
Boogie
was
Nights.
7. No, Boogie Nights was in the 90s. I'm just saying I remember Burt Reynolds as being just kind of this comedian character, kind of someone that always brought the same character to the movie, roles he played. Although Jack Nicholson kind of does the same thing.
Oh my God. So I don't know about you, but did you see the Joker when he was like, I was like, oh God, it's the same fucking Joker faces. Granted, Joker was many years later.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that.
So yeah, The Longest Yard was 74, so that was right before this. And he had a lot of movies before this. I mean, he started all the way back in the mid-'60s. Gunsmoke, so Twilight Zone, a bunch of stuff. God, he actually... 58 was when he actually started, so he'd been doing quite a bit. So I think he was a bigger name when this came out, for sure. But I think what it came down to is I think he turned it down, too. I think he didn't want to do it.
I think he got pushed back from the studios.
I didn't hear that part. I just know that
I thought the
studios
said.
wanted him, and he didn't end up doing it.
And I gotta. When I said Jack Nicholson always plays the same role, I think that's unfair. I think we're just so used to seeing so many caricatures of him from because he's so easy to imitate. But I'm looking at some of his movies, and he's got so many different roles.
No, he does. He definitely does. Jack Nicholson. But he does a lot of his face.
No, I know.
He
does a lot of face acting, but I mean, he's not always doing that. I think he has a couple roles that he's been highlighted. This one, yeah. But then you see like As Good as It Gets, and well, Anger Management. There you go. That's something that falls right into it. Even The Departed too he's playing Jack, but Broadcast News. Oh my God, that's right. He was the newsman.
Easy Rider was out before this. I think that was kind of where Chinatown. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Oh shit. Well, okay. Chinatown is not a typical Jack Nicholson role, but it's a brilliant movie. That's Roman Polanski movie. It's much more film noir. It's a very devastating.
I was just trying to see what he would have come out
storyline.
of. Like, I guess, well, shit. He was working just as long as Burt Reynolds. They both started in the early or late 50s and worked all the way through the 60s. Right.
Little Shop of Horrors. I remember Jack Nicholson was in Little Shop of Horrors. He played the Bill Murray character that the musical, the movie musical with the Frank Oz directed one, where he comes in to meet the dentist, and he's the masochist.
Right. Oh God.
Meeting the
dentist.
or the sadist meeting the masochist, and
So I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the most evil doctors or in all time, and they were trying to get someone to come up with Nurse Ratched, and someone mentioned from the Little Shop of Horrors the dentist played by
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, and they're like, and the guy was like, oh shit, that might be the best one ever. And I was like, that's great. But yeah, so I mean, he definitely is one of the best actors in this, and really makes this. I mean, this and The Shining, like if you replace them with someone else, I don't know if the movie comes off as well.
Yeah, you need someone with the charisma that's going to draw the audience in, just like it draws the ensemble cast in. It's just it's a glue. It's something that is going to get underneath Nurse Ratched's skin. You need something that kind of brings that you can root for in such a interesting way. It's not like you're rooting for something that you can believe in. You're rooting for something that you're just drawn towards. And I think that's
to tell you the truth, I don't know if I was rooting for anything in this movie. I was just along for the ride.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
As far as it was, like when it ended, right? I watched this. I didn't know anything about what people thought necessarily. When it ended, I was like, "Oh shit, okay." Talk about a crazy ending, right? And this is another thing that people blame Nurse Ratched, right? In the end, right? Billy kills himself, and then McMurphy fucking loses it and tries to kill her. In the book, apparently it's even way worse, where he fucking tries to rape her, even like just even more so. The book is so much more like rough around. There's just so much more violence and craziness in it that it's like, ugh. I see why they toned it back. But anyways, he tries to kill.
I wonder if the author was upset with the movie because it turned his protagonist or the McMurphy character into more of a hero, or it drew audiences into that character.
In the books, apparently people still thought McMurphy was the fucking hero.
Okay, well, maybe I got to read this thing. Sounds good.
I don't know if I want to. To me, I'm like, I don't want to read anything that makes him seem like a hero. But so he tries to kill her, and then we get the lobotomy, right? He disappears, and then he ends up, and then Chief. What's the right word to that? He Mercy kills him, right? He puts the pillow over his face and says, "I'm leaving, and you're coming with me." And he, instead of leaving him as a vegetable, and then he goes in and lifts up that water. It's like I'm not even sure what the hell that is. Someone had a name for it, but it's got a bunch of sprayers on it and stuff. And that's why, McMurphy couldn't lift it, because it's got fucking water pipes attached to it.
It's called a hydrotherapy fountain.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia.
Yeah. They're like, it looks heavy, but it's not that it's heavy. It's got fucking pipes
no, it's all
connected
attached
to it.
Yeah. He's got to rip
I don't even believe Chief could have ripped that off. I don't care how strong that fucker is. You can't just pull pipes and make them rip.
Fair enough.
If it is,
Fair
it's bad plumbing.
Okay. No, maybe it's tight. Maybe the idea was they wanted to show something that was so crazy, just like they talk about a mother lifting a car off of.
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly what it is. And so,
or maybe that was maybe that was tapping into the story's tall tale nature. Trying to bring a little bit of that to the movie.
Could be, but yeah. So he gets away and gets his freedom, which is another one. Which, like, to show how dumb McMurphy really is like, he sends Billy off to do his thing, and he's like, I'm gonna wait for it. And then he falls asleep in front of the window, like, you dumb motherfucker.
I know. Yeah, I had forgotten he'd fallen asleep when I watched it again, and
I mean, granted,
they just hold it on him for a while. He's just like,
because he's doing his face acting.
Yeah, he's looking around, and then
he's got he goes through like 4 different emotions, and you're like, dude, okay, whatever. But it is very interesting. Like, so the other part of this, and this is where I was really surprised, and this is why I really pushed out to find female-led podcasts to hear what they had to say, because this would not pass that Bechdel test, right, where a woman talks to another woman without anything to do with, because there's Nurse Ratched and her helper, Miss Pilbo.
Who doesn't
I think
really
she has two.
Does she actually?
She has like 2 or 3. And then there's the one real nurse who gives him the not the lobotomy, but the shock treatment, and then the 2 hookers.
Right.
And it's like, it's very, very male heavy, but it is that. But I just wanted to see what their take was, and even some of them were kind of like, they were like, yeah, Ratchet's evil, and I was like, really? Okay. But I just thought it was interesting. I mean, Candy was a fun part of this. Like, she was the female version of Martini. Just happy to be there.
She had that engaging smile. She kind of looked a little, yeah.
Even the everything she did, she was just, oh, hi guys, hi Billy, and then the other one was there. Okay, they ship one off to screw the night clerk guy, and that was another weird one with Scatman
Crothers. That's right. Who was his, he was in Shining a couple years later.
Yeah.
So
apparently they're really good friends too. Jack Nicholson and Scatman were friends, and that's kind of how Scatman ended up in. I can't remember if it was The Shining or this one. It was like there was actually another actor that was set to do it but couldn't make it at a certain time. So he's like, oh, just call up this guy. So, but yeah, it was just his whole thing too. Like, he knows he's going to lose his job, so he just goes in there and goes to sleep. I was like, that was kind of weird. Like, I didn't get that as much, but they had to have their party. Oh, another like, oh my God, there's that guy. The I don't know how to explain him, but he's bald. He's got a very odd shaped head. He was in
Weird Science.
Yes, he's on the motorcycle.
Right, that
guy is in so many movies that you're just like, and you recognize. I don't think he ever has lines, but he's just always a odd looking dude.
Michael Berryman is his name, and he actually has a condition called hypohydrotic ectodermal dysplasia, a rare condition characterized by the absence of sweat glands, hair, and fingernails. And he's used it to his advantage as far as kind of getting roles that require a face that's a little bit more striking to the audiences.
He does, because every time you see him in a movie, you're like, oh, that's that dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw him and I was like, oh my God, he's another one. So many people that were like that in this, so it was really cool. Big party. Yeah, it was. I understand why this got the big 5. I really do, especially in 1975 when movies were what they were. That was Jaws was big at that time. Another movie that just really shot well, really story that flows. Is this a rewatchable movie? I don't know. Like, I could see maybe watching this every 10 years,
That's fair.
Like I'm not gonna watch. Like I'm not gonna be like, man, I got 2 hours to burn. Let me just throw on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
No, but it might be one of those movies that if you're flipping the channels and suddenly, we don't flip channels anymore.
Suddenly it was on.
But it might be something. Oh, this is a cool scene. And
it's more like I want to see a really well done movie. Like more of a.
To me, if you hit a scene in the middle of the ensemble, kind of the chaos where you're seeing them all. The way they were able to capture some of those moments was just genius.
That's what
brilliant.
I mean. The filming was great. The director with what they did and the editing was fabulous.
And you talked about the end when Chief broke through the glass. There's that. It's Doc Brown who kind of comes up. He wakes up and
another great facial expression.
Max,
guy.
and he just bursts into this joy. It's not even joy. It's almost like this.
It is joy.
Something like primal joy. I don't know. There's something about it.
It is. He's like, he's one that's okay with bucking the system.
Yeah,
right.
And, she's one of the criminal ones. Yeah.
He was the guy that wanted to argue. Someone said his condition was it has to do with like argumentative, like he always wants to argue. Because he was the one that's like called people on their shit all the time. Like, you're so full of shit, and wants to argue.
He was so articulate with his arguing, even though he wasn't like an intellect. He was sharp with his words. And a lot if a lot of that was impromptu or wasn't necessarily.
I think a lot of this was also
amazing performance for something so early in his career.
And they're all like you said. We got Jack Nicholson as a big actor. Everybody else was relatively small or new,
right?
There was no other big names, and I think they did that. I think he said they did that on purpose. They didn't want a bunch of people in the background. You're like, oh, that's that guy, kind of thing. So, well done movie, well deserved of its big five.
I'm glad we covered it. I loved this conversation. I loved your point of view because it's more interesting to talk about it from I think what you're bringing than.
I would love to. It makes me want to find these people that have this total opposite, where they think she's so evil and he's so good. I'm like, I just got to know why. Like, where's the detail? What? Like, I get it, the charisma, but I mean, there's got to be more to that, because that just can't be what everybody that can't be what leads you through life.
No, that's what draws me to you. That's why I hang out with you. Come on. It's your charm and charisma.
All right. I changed my mind. No, I get it. And it was interesting. I was like, oh my God. I literally all day long was like, I can't wait to hear what Steve, I'm like, okay, please don't be right in the same line with me, because I want to be able to have that discussion back and forth. Because again, it is more it is more better when we can talk better. No, it's a better conversation when we don't necessarily 100% agree.
Well, I'm not saying I'm on McMurphy's side, but I think I appreciate the movie the most when it plays kind of.
But I'm not saying you're thinking he's the hero, or what they called an anti-hero. Like, that's when I heard people calling him an anti-hero, I was like, do you know what the hero word means? Do you? I don't think you know what that means. He's not a hero in any sense of the word. Yes, he came in and brought some excitement to these guys' life, but with what he brought in there, cost the person his life.
Well, I have to admit, I was drawn towards his charisma. And I think that's interesting to explore. Why is that the case? So that's
he was. He's the guy. He's the guy that you're like, he's acting a fool, and you're looking at him going, all right, what's this guy gonna do? But if he comes near me, I'm gonna punch him in his face. Like, at least that's how I look at him. Okay, keep your bully shit over there, do your thing and whatever. But as soon as it messes with mine, I'm gonna take your feet out from under you. At least that's me though. I mean, I have a different aspect on that, and like I said, to me, I saw him as a bully right away, and that set me off.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it was. Also, the fact that, like, he came in as a criminal, and the way they posed the very beginning, I knew right off the bat, oh, he's just trying to get out of work. And right away I was like, nah, fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? I right off the bat, I was against him because I was like, oh, he's just trying to get out of hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a
And so
manipulated and asshole. Yeah.
And maybe that's why it was more that way. Like from the get go, to me, that was just like, oh, I don't like that. So, matter of fact, I was watching some of the reactions that the nurses had, and they were even falling for, like, to me, it seemed like they were falling for his charisma.
Well, yeah, you mentioned the Mimi
Pilbo, Nurse Pilbo.
Mimi Sarkisian was the actress, but yeah, there was a moment where it almost looks like she's got a little bit of a enamored look on her face.
Yeah. Exactly. I know exactly what.
But it
was
so subtle that you could just say, no, I don't know if that's the case, and that's good. That's good.
It was when he said they were giving me 10,000 watts a day, and I'm hot to trot. The next woman who takes me on is going to light up like a pinball machine and pay off in silver dollars. And she almost, and then they posed to her, and she kind of like, oh my god, like. Literally, like, you're like, wait, no, you're not falling for that shit, are you? But
there was a scene. There was something I saw on YouTube where it showed a reaction shot. You talked about reaction shots, and this is a reaction shot of Nurse Ratched actually. And when she's being like something that McMurphy's doing, and it just makes it, she looks offended or something like that. But it turns out that I guess it was the director talking about her bad performance or something like that, or lecturing her on something, and they use that as her reaction. I think that's brilliant.
Well, there was even a couple times when I saw her, they show her looking what's going on. Like, I think it was the time when he starts talking when he's acting out the baseball game, and because she wouldn't turn on the TV, she gets a little smile on her face. And I heard people talk about like, oh, she's just smiling because she won and she got him. And I was like, or is she smiling because she got him to quit throwing his little tantrum, and he found a way to interject some entertainment to himself and to those around him. Like, not everything.
She created something better than just
exactly.
Into,
And so there was a couple of times when I saw those looks on her faces, like she's smiling, and people were taking it as like, oh, she's evil because she's winning. It's like, or is it going towards the bigger plan? It's funny. Last night in martial arts, we had a teach the teacher session, right? So we had all the black belts and the brown belts there. We're talking. And it was a discussion on, some of the students are like, oh, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not learning anything new and stuff like that. And the question is like, do you not believe that the instructors have a plan for you? Do you not believe that we don't see your path laid out for you, not just for today, but for tomorrow, for next month, for next year? Like, that's to me what I saw in her sometimes is like, you're only looking in the moment. She's looking down the line. She's like, yep, I'm setting up this domino. I'm setting up this domino. I'm setting up this domino. Instead of, and so it's kind of interesting. Like, I think people were looking at a smile as more like, oh, she's winning. She's evil. She's getting her way. She's taking control. Or is she like, nope, this is the path we're on. And that's just one more peg in that path to get you to the next step of your ultimate journey.
So are you telling me when I was teaching, I was supposed to be thinking ahead?
I think you did.
Just kidding.
Not directly, like when you're like, okay, now do this move. No, but just in general, like your instructors in whatever you're doing. And just in martial arts specific, it was something that came up yesterday.
I think that's an ideal point of view, and I agree with that's the hope. That's the hope. I don't think that's always the case, but I think that's the hope.
No, but that's what I mean is I think
that the people that are looking out for you have a path for you. They're not just trying to get through the moment so that they can get home and have a beer or something like,
I was looking at her smiling in these situations as, oh, everybody's getting a little bit better. We've squashed the little tantrum and they've moved a little bit forward. Where other people are going, oh, she just feels like she won the situation.
But that's interesting because it brings up this idea that maybe it's just all about someone's motivation. You could see someone do something. If you attach motivation, like I'm thinking of the future, Or you can attach motivation that says, I don't like you and I'm trying to,
Yeah.
but, and yet it can be the exact same behavior, and that's where judgment comes from. And then we're such a judgmental society now.
I wonder if that's why I looked at Ratchet as like, I was like, I'm not seeing an evilness in it. I'm seeing that like she's seeing the good long-term goal happening, and so she's getting a little bit of a smile where people are going, oh no, she just won the day. And where McMurphy on the other hand, like,
you just got owned.
He's doing his thing and getting in with the guys and getting the control, and other people are going, oh, he's bringing them out of their shells. And I'm like, no, he's bullying them and pushing them into their positions to make him better. It's all perspective.
Yeah.
And so, how you come into this movie, I came into it.
And how you define motivation that isn't really there. You just have to kind of.
So that's, I wonder if that's a lot of the people that find Ratchet as the evilness and stuff like that. I wonder if they've read the book. Because apparently the book she doesn't even have a name. They just call her like the big nurse. Like, I don't even know if Ratchet is in there. She definitely doesn't have a first name. Louise Fletcher came up with that. They asked her, what would your first name? And she said Mildred. And then, why can't I think of his name? Jack Nicholson later on used it as, just in an improv. So Matilda. And it was like, and so
Mildred.
when you hear shit like that, you're like, man, they probably had some pretty good times on this, like filming this.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, you think about like these hard movies where it's like, oh my God, it's so dramatic and so dynamic and like, oh, but you think about it, like they're acting. I hope they're having a good time doing this. And, matter of fact, so Louise Fletcher was feeling kind of left out of the group as they were all like on the off time and people were hanging out. It was a lot of guys, right?
That was by design though too. Didn't the director keep her away?
I think so, a little bit. Well, she didn't have a patient to follow around and stuff. So apparently when they were doing one of their group sessions, apparently she just rips her top off and fucking flashes everybody to like blow them all up and like, see, I could be fun. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like, I'm like, you go, girl. Like, I mean, it's like, she just, like, she felt so weird that it was kind of an icebreaker for her and kind of like, and apparently it worked, So I was just like, that's kind of like one way to do it, especially in 75. I mean, you got the hippie movement where free love and all that, or
I'm interested in the source of your anecdote here.
I heard it on at least 3 different podcasts.
Okay. All right.
So it's on the internet, so it must be true.
I did see a behind the scenes shot of when Jack Nicholson is choking her and they fall onto the ground onto this little bed, to kind of break their fall. And then he starts kind of fondling her. Yeah. As they're kind of rolling around a little bit.
Oh,
geez. And it's like cut, so, and and it was kind of an uncomfortable laughter after that. So.
Right. Yeah. That's like, oh, that was a little too far, you fucking creepy bastard. Well, and I mean, maybe that was after, because I guess they shot this for the most part chronologically.
Okay.
Is that the right word, or
that's the right word? I mean, that makes sense.
And so that would have been towards the end. So that would have been after she flashed him. So maybe it was kind of a.
He's like, yeah, you started this.
It's like, now you got me all fucking, set to go. I'm trying to see if I can find anything directly on flashes.
That's all right. I'll look it up.
So here we go. If you put in there Louise Fletcher flashes in group therapy, something comes up.
All right.
Although it's I don't know. Okay. It's not giving me directly, so maybe it's just going to take me to porn sites. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I did hear some stuff about that and I if that's what happened, that's great. I think that's fun. I mean, as long as she can, get back into with everybody and have a good time, and it would suck to be isolated when you're in a big group like that in filming and stuff like that. So if that's what happened, great. If not, oh well, it's on the internet now, so it's got to be true.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, this was good. I'm glad because I would have probably not watched this had you not suggested it. Not because I don't think it's a great movie, but it's just not in my wheelhouse anymore. 1975 is not movies I'm thinking. I'm not going, oh my, what won the Oscar that year? Let me go watch that. You know, and maybe I should. So yeah, I don't know. All right, well, with that, I'm gonna say rules. Piss on your fucking rules.
Hail Caesars.
What does that mean?